Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you may be in the world. Welcome to today's conversation on Gift of Healing TV. I'm Sarah Jane, one of your hosts for this program. The order's changed from just before we started recording this. So, David, welcome, one of my other co-hosts.
Hello and welcome everybody.
And to my other co-host, Patricia. Patricia, welcome.
Hi, Sarah Jane. Lovely to see you again, and David. And it's great to be here, and welcome everybody. Hope you enjoy the chat tonight.
And Patricia, I'm going to hand over to you because Kathryn, thank you for joining us, is actually your guest. And so you know Kathryn, so I will let you give a brief introduction. Kathryn, I hope you'll share a little of about yourself and why this topic's important to you. But Patricia, over to you.
Okay, thanks, Sarah. Well, I'm excited, folks, excited. I've known this lady for, we reckon, 14 years. So it's quite a long time. And I came into her life because she was distributing, sharing wonderful workshops on how to expand your base of clients and all that kind of thing. Fascinating work, but just a fascinating lady, incredibly inspirational, incredibly positive. And we just got on like a house on fire. We spend most of our time giggling and laughing, which is very good for you. So Kathryn lives in Florida, a bit warm over there just now. But you know, her subject for tonight is very much what she works on. It's Step Up, 3 reasons to be the fullest expression of yourself. And you know, that is so topical just now because I'm using the phrase encouraging people to be the fullest expression of themselves and really stepping up. So absolutely fascinating. So looking forward to that, Kathryn. It will be wonderful. Over to you.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here and share and talk with y'all about it.
Wonderful. So tell us a wee bit more about yourself, Kathryn. I've just given them a little taster there. How about
Sure. So folks, I am a manifesting clients mentor, vibrant speaker coach, and summit host. And as Patricia hinted at, I've been working with women entrepreneurs and supporting them in growing businesses that they love for a while now, several years. And I actually began with my first workshop on attracting clients around 2006. So it's been a while, and it's just been, however, my vibrant speaker coach hat just came on about 1.5 years ago. And that's partly why I brought this topic to our conversation about stepping up and being the fullest expression of yourself, because I'm not a normal speaker coach. I have a background as a dance movement therapist, an integrative breath worker. I've done a lot of body work. I've done a lot of movement work, and quite honestly, hadn't done that with clients for years. And then around 2017-ish, I committed to becoming a better speaker and discovered that I had some natural ability. Mm-hmm. I'm comfortable doing these nonverbal things. My voice is going to change when I talk. It just comes naturally to me.
Yeah.
And then I got a download. Patricia, you would love this. I got a download. It came in like in an hour. A new program came in that integrated all the other work that I did. This was like 1.5 years ago. All the other work that I did as a dance movement therapist and integrative breath worker with how to support folks in being authentically vibrant when they speak, so that they're not just sitting there like this and talking like this, but allowing life force to flow through them, being the fullest expression of themselves and authentically vibrant. So that's why I brought this topic here. In addition to the manifesting clients mentoring that I've done for years and years, I'm also supporting women entrepreneurs in stepping up, speaking up, and breaking free from the childhood and corporate conditioning that had them be like this when they talked instead of their fullest expression.
They're absolutely fabulous. Wonderful work, Kathryn. Really,
It is. It's very exciting.
absolutely. I'm coming. When you're running the next one, I'm coming to Florida. I'm on.
You're so cute. I love to work online. You'll have to wait a while before I do anything in person again. But I do have an online Speak from Your Core 2-day intensive happening in October if you want to join me. But yeah, so I'm excited to be here to talk with y'all about this, because while I have my own perspective on what being the fullest expression of yourself looks like, I love to hear from other people what comes up for them when they hear that term or use that term. So I'm not sure where y'all want to go with this conversation, but I wanted to put that into the mix, that I'd love to hear from y'all about it.
I'm going to start on this because having been extremely insecure, and if it's the one thing I wasn't, was me, because I hadn't got a clue who me was. and that's, but it's, I think the wake up for me was, why am I worrying about what other people think about me? Because they're not. Mm-hmm. And when you act, and it was almost as if a whole load of stuff lifted off me. At that, it wasn't just having a thought and thinking, oh yeah, but on the other hand, I've still got to stay mouse-like, I've still got to stay doormat-like, I've still got to be whatever. It was just a matter, what the heck am I worrying about? There is nothing to worry about. And it gives, when you find that thing that gives you the confidence to be you. Yeah, sorry, I really do speak with my hands a lot. I move about a lot. But I loved what you said about movement. And it's thinking about the voice, isn't it? It's thinking about not keeping it so monotone that it is boring to listen to. It's give it some passion, give it some energy, but it's got to be natural. It's got to be what comes from your heart. And if it's not a passion, then what are you doing talking about it?
Now that's a good point, Sara.
So it's thinking about all of these things, isn't it? It's just a matter of, yeah, I've heard so many speakers and I've gone to actually, do you know what? I can't listen to this anymore. It is so monotone. It's just boring. But it can bring the passion in. And I suppose it was listening to Bo Eason talking at a Messenger Summit back in 2012, golly. And he did the Run to the Litter. He did his own one-man play. And obviously with that, his everything about his movements and everything was so exaggerated. And I don't know whether maybe everything with my hands and everything is exaggerated as well, because it's about me being me. And it's about your story. And I know we've done something about story recently, but it's letting your story empower you rather than disempower you, helping you to move forward into the person that you are. So for me, it's that letting go of the old insecurities so that you can become the fullest expression of yourself.
Yeah.
I found it really interesting, Kathryn, when you said this started in 2017, because surprisingly or not, I used to hide myself away and hide my light under a bushel. Now I can't shut myself up. But in 2017, other people have to go zip. But in 2017, I was organizing a spiritual retreat, and messages came through like a massive download. And they said, in the next 2 or 3 years, you are going to be asked to stand up in your fullest light, in your fullest being, because those that stand up and give it their all and stand in their own power, they're the ones that are going to help others get through. And of course, at the time, I'd forgotten what it was said. And then somebody said in the past couple of years, do you remember what you said? And then I was reminded. And so that was really interesting that there was this kind of global consciousness or global message coming through about us having to stand up. And I think it is, we've had so much pressure in peer pressure. Oh, you can't say that, you can't do that, you can't be that, and you're shut into this box. But there comes a point, I think, in everybody's life, and it could be different times, where you say, I can't trap myself in the box anymore because I'm being suffocated. And so then it comes out, and then that allows you, your passion, and how can you say, the authentic you, who you really are inside, to come forward, because we need authenticity in this world now on a big general platform, and everybody needs to be their authentic self. And I think it comes to everybody at some point where they say, I can't keep my mouth shut anymore. I've got to bring this out, whatever it is, and they've got to speak. So it was really interesting that in 2017, that message came to you. And it was during that year, had this download or whatever to say, okay, we've all got to start standing up in our own empower.
Yeah. Powerful.
Yeah. Shall I come in there, Sara? It's interesting, excuse me, to hear you speak of childhood programming, things like that. I grew up very male-dominated surroundings, lots of men. My mum used to take in boarders that were all vets, lovely young men. But and then moving on in life, I became an admin assistant in forward planning for Scottish Power. Would you believe, planning 2021, 2022 in the year 1970? Oh, that fascinates me. Huh? But anyway, apart from that, then I went to Barclays Bank, and because I was out entertaining, I was a semi-professional singer, so I would be doing the day job, running around the table, eating, back out to sing with various bands and all the rest of it. And I got the job with Barclays Bank as a rep because they could see I had a lot of confidence, and that's what they needed. And then I had to go to board meetings. And so here I was, the token lady at the table with all these grey hairs, and, forgive me if anybody's got any grey hairs. I don't have anything about that.
I've got a few, but they're going.
Forgive me. But you know what I mean? And it was, I would sit there and I would be bursting. I would be thinking, well, I've got a great idea. I've got a super idea. I could really fix this, and we could, do this and that. And then, because I'd been told to be quiet so often and be seen and not heard, it would be, and then by the time I could have spoken, it would all have gone round and they would all be off on something else. So I missed the opportunity. So I reckon what I learned from that was never miss the opportunity to speak your truth, because you're denying somebody else from a major step forward, possibly. Because, and I know now, as a sort of spiritual teacher or whatever you would call me, I know now that words are very powerful, especially channeled words are incredibly powerful and can really shape people's experience in life from that moment on. So that was a huge lesson I learned. I've had some big lessons.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Patricia. That's just really beautiful for you to share that here and share it with me, because one of my pet peeves in my adult life has been seeing on TV, like pictures of real meetings, of like board meetings of people. I've never been at one where all the people, for the most part, are men.
Yeah.
And the women haven't stepped up and they're not speaking up. And I think that you're pointing to a time in our history. It's been a while. The 70s have been a while.
Yeah.
And we've come a long way. And there are so many more women stepping up now than that we used to. And forgive me, David, I often speak to women, so I'm much more in tune with that. But I loved also what you said, because I don't think about what happens for men. But you're right. Men are put into boxes and told they've got to act a certain way and be a certain way, whether it's from their parents or their peers or their job. And so one of the interesting things for me is I've been talking about this idea of being the fullest expression of yourself has been my exploration with, well, why haven't they stepped up to being the fullest expression of themselves yet? And I started talking about last year, I realized that a lot of it was because of childhood or corporate conditioning. As Patricia mentioned, she was told to be still, to be quiet. And many of us, especially women, and I think to a certain extent guys, but differently, we were told to be nice, to be good, to do what the grown-ups told us to do, that led us as adults to hold back, which is what you all described, having that experience at some point. I certainly did. As an entrepreneur, I've had to learn to show up and speak up. And it wasn't until the last couple of years, as I've really been breaking free from the conditioning that I developed as a child, that I'm now, I think, speaking up in a way that feels really true and right. And my experience before was that it felt like I was standing behind a plexiglass wall.
Yeah.
That even though I know for everybody plexiglass, they say, well, that's clear. But I felt like I could see out, but on the outside it was smoky and people couldn't see in. So as an entrepreneur, until the last few years, I felt like I was going, look at me. I've got these great services. And people couldn't see me. And part of that was that I didn't yet know how to step up and speak up in a way where I was connecting with the people in the room so that they could hear what I was saying because it would resonate with them, as well as speak in a way that allowed my vibration to come through. So I'm loving what y'all are sharing. I let's keep jiving about this. And I have this funny feeling when I came here with y'all that you would all three of you would relate to what I was talking about and have stories. So I want to hear more.
I'm quite happy to jump in again. Because of what I do now, very, very different to where I was, and my own healing journey being what has helped me to find my voice. And bearing in mind that actually the incident as a child, not only coffee over my face, but it was throat. And that is where the scars are. So throat is that inability to speak. But I sort of remember that I was sort of at an event one time, and a friend of mine, the friend I share the house with, and he looked at me at one stage and he turned around and said, "You can't talk to people like that." And I said, "Yeah, I can. I wasn't being nasty. I wasn't mean. I was just being truthful." I said, "Yes, I can." Because if we don't speak up to somebody, if we don't say what's the intuition we're getting, the whatever, we can't support them. And I've heard this said so many times, if something comes at you 3 times, it's something you should listen to. So if I'm meant to be the first, the second, or the third, it doesn't really matter. And I don't care if that funny woman that day at that event said something like that to me. If that does that, that is brilliant. But I remember one occasion, I don't even remember the conversation I had with this lady. But I got a phone call after this event. Yeah, it wasn't a mind, body, spirit. I think it was sort of either in a school or in a sort of to do with a carnival or something. But I always took stands to where it was other than mind, body, spirit, and holistic, because that's where you touched so many more lives, people that wouldn't come to that type of event. So I'd had this conversation. I got this phone call, and she started with, "I was so cross with you," and I thought, oh. Oh, I'm getting a phone call. Oops. And then she said, "Then I thought about it, and you're the only person who's ever been honest with me." So I probably said something that dear Trevor would have turned around and said, "You can't speak to people like that." But what is the intention behind what you are saying? And it's the intention of caring, of love, of support, of really helping people. And if you can, and she came and actually had a couple of sessions with me, so if you're touching a life like that by being true to yourself and what you feel you should be sharing with others, the terminology, I've had people who've turned around and said, "Oh, you can't do things like that." And I'm thinking, well, yes, I can. Because other people weren't upset about it. They were. That's their stuff. Everybody else was really comfortable with it. So, no, because all of us, I'm sure, have given talks, sort of we've had groups of people. Not everybody's going to like what you say. It doesn't matter. You're there for those people whose lives you're meant to be touching. And even those people that may not like what you've said, you probably hit a nerve with them. And you may be that first. But it's really important to trust and believe in yourself, in that inner wisdom.
Absolutely. I was wondering if I could come in there just on that point. I was doing a day in Glasgow, probably about 150 people, and I was teaching them to tone, and we were toning love, and using the power, the vibration of that word. And I just kept them going on. It kept them repeating it, and obviously I'm talking to them at the same time and bringing them into a kind of meditative state. But I don't know why I alluded to it. I think actually, Kathryn, it was an advert for tonight's show. One of my friends from Glasgow came on, Janie Walker, if she's listening, probably. And Janie, she said, "Patricia, is this a timely message to remind you of that day in Glasgow? Because the lady beside me was in floods of tears after your session." She says, "and I was really quite concerned. And I turned to her and said, 'Are you okay? Did you enjoy Patricia's session?' And the girl said, 'Yes, I did. I did very much, because I've been taught to absolutely hate my voice and not use it. And for the first time in my life, I've sung, a real big, what people call an aha moment." And the message came. I really thank Janie as well, because it came on a day when I kind of needed to hear something like that as well. That level of validation that what you're not wasting your time, and that you are doing something very worthwhile. And so my point being is that even doing something as simple as just chanting a word or toning a word with intention, may I say, can have amazing results. And then there are so many chants you can use that are quite specific to various things. But just lovely.
I think also.
You're right there, David.
Sorry, Patricia. Yeah, Patricia was still going, so I had a time delay. Sorry about that, but it's really interesting because I think also if you're not speaking your full truth and speaking up as you really want to, you can also be misconstrued, and the message can carry a very different message than what you really want to say. For example, I know when my life started opening up to spirit and working with spirit, I was in a development class, amazing development class, I have to say. But I had to hide. I wanted to hide myself from saying I'm doing this or seeing this and I'm hearing this. So when my friends at the time said, "Oh, what you doing Thursday?" "Oh, I'm going to my spooky friends," and that's how I was comfortable with it. So I was homeless as well during a period of all this opening up, and I was on the streets and in people's rooms for a couple of days, and so I just thought, okay, I'm just going to say I'm going to my spooky friends. And then I got a house. I was given a bed sit through an accommodation agency, which was after 6 months wonderful. And then they said, "What are you doing for Christmas?" My friend said. I said, "Well, I've been given this opportunity for this beautiful flat, so I'm going to bless it, and I'm going to ask my spooky friends round to bless the house." And that, I thought, well, a development circle and that, come round, bless the house and give thanks for it. So anyway, I never saw him again. And after about 3 months, I saw him after Christmas. And they said, "How did you get on?" So I said, "I was fine." And they said, "What did you have?" I said, "Well, we had wine, and it was days of those chicken and pineapple hedgehogs."
Oh, yeah.
And I said, "We had cheese and pickle and wine." And they said, "Well, how did they drink? Because they've got no insides." So everybody, so I hadn't realized they thought I was off my head. And some people still may think so. So sorry. But that really, sorry, Patricia, that really was a wake-up call to say, speak in your full truth, exactly what you're meaning, exactly what you want to say, because things could get misconstrued if you don't. Sorry.
I love that. I love it.
It's a great story.
But it is, you have to stand up there. Otherwise, as Patricia said, you're not getting your message across. You are and Sarah, you're not getting your message across fully. And we are here to do work. Every single 7 billion people on this planet are here to do work. And we all have been given a voice, and we need to use it from our fullest and our truest passion, because the truth, as we all own it, we all own our own truth, then that raises vibrations around us, and that can only be good for the world and our environment as a whole.
Yes, agreed. Wonderful.
Kathryn, have you got any stories of things that have happened to you? I love that, David. I absolutely love that.
Thank you.
I'm not sure anyone can beat that one, but maybe we can.
I cannot beat David's story. There is just no way that I could beat that story. That is a really, really, really good story. And my experience has more to do with the feeling inside for me of holding myself back. I just felt like, as I said before, people couldn't see me, But when I look back, it was me holding myself in. And that's one of the reasons I think to break free from that childhood or corporate conditioning is to actually not feel that way. Just like you all pointed to, that feeling of being in a box, or the feeling of trying to please other people, which we can't please other people, all the things that we've all said, it doesn't feel good. And it feels so much better it feels so much better to me when I really step into what I'm here to say in this moment and let it come out and let it ring true, because you can tell, just like I think Patricia spoke to in it, when it's a channeled message, it's that those words are that much more powerful. And I think there's a way when we're being the fullest expression of ourselves that the words are coming from potentially our highest self, and that feels good. And it's different than a channeled message, but there's this overlap, and I want to speak like that regularly, often. I want to give myself opportunities to do that, like saying yes to being with y'all today, doing my Facebook Lives, speaking at On Purpose Woman, which is a community I'm part of, or wherever I can speak, so that I open up to this vibration that's inside of me coming out so other people can feel it, because that feels good. So I say yes to feeling good. But I don't know anything about spooks.
Neither did my friends, really.
But you said something there that I think is a real key to this, is that nobody else will see you unless you truly, truly see yourself and understand who and what you are. Why are we here? As somebody said, not sure who, but we are all here, David, I think it was, to deliver our particular message and to soul empower, self-empower, and to rise up to transcend, which is actually what the word divinity means. It's not about religion and it's not about spirituality. It's about the power to transcend up and to morph, if you like, into a different being, a much higher vibration and frequency. And that in and of itself is going to bring forward amazing healing, because they've got huge messages for us there, which they are channeling through. And it's wonderful. It's a wonderful time to be alive and to be experiencing that. So more power to your elbow, Kathryn. You're going to be out there. I can see it.
And I just want to jump in one more thing. I was talking to someone else earlier today. She was doing an assessment with me, and it's so fascinating. Her perspective was something to the effect of, it's a hard time these days. People are having a hard time with everything that's going on. And Patricia, you just said it's a wonderful time where all these things are coming through. I like living in this world, that it's a wonderful time where there's so many things opened up.
We'll all move in together and have a good time and have a laugh and be light, and because I don't mean to belittle what anyone's thinking. I do understand there are challenges, of course there are, but if we focus on the positive, that the glass is half full, I think it's old stuff, but my goodness, it's good stuff.
I'm great about a glass.
I think it's also good when we speak up, because we help to manifest what we need.
Yeah.
Because if we're not speaking up for our full truth, what we want, or just speaking about what our truth is, who we are, then how can we manifest those things into us if we're holding back? And I think there's a lot of fear from people because there's so much individual judgment around, especially when you're at school and in those pressures that, and you're, I suppose you carry it with you that, oh, I can't speak up because I'm going to be judged, and you carry that through your life, and you don't want to feel that. But I think it's really important for people to understand the more we can speak up for our individual beliefs and understandings, whatever it is, then that is a stronger manifestation power as well, isn't it?
Good point.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think it's trusting, isn't it? Because, okay, when I first started this journey, I could not have imagined where I am now. I really couldn't have imagined where I am now. Because it was at tail end of 2009. And I've been thinking about, well, we've got all these oracle cards for angels and mermaids and sort of all sorts of different things, crystals, all sorts of different things. And then obviously there's the tarot cards and loads of stuff. But I thought the mythical beings, and I know mermaids come into that, and I know angels actually come into that, but the mythical beings is a much bigger group. And I tried looking it up, and there was nothing. You could learn their myths and legends, but there was no messages from them. And I remember sitting in the car one day and thinking about it, and I don't get voices in my head, but the words were right there in my head. You're doing it. And how many times with these things, when I discovered that I could speak light language, I channel from many mythical beings, from dragons, but I channel the Reiki energy. I channel the sound, just one big channel, sort of, but you go into that, but why me? And it's really asking yourself that question immediately afterwards. Why not? Because we are so much more than this physical being. Our heart is our connection to our soul, which is our connection to the all that is. And we cannot be disconnected from that. So when you hear voices, when you see things, when you just get a sense of knowing, whatever it is for you, trust that is your connection to your soul. That is your higher self. That is something more than you think you are. And we all, every single last one of us, have that ability if we will but trust ourselves.
Yeah.
And trust ourselves then to bring that forth. When I had the thought to do, Gift of Healing TV, then the thought, when I was talking to sort of a lady called Enolia, who I did these with initially, when we sort of had that connect, this thought, let's do these programs. What shall we call them? And it was about having these conversations today that we couldn't have had for fear of judgment, etc. We couldn't have had these conversations before because we would have feared that judgment. And that's why we bring these conversations, the programs that we do, etc., the sharing that we do, to not only find our own voice, but to help others to find theirs too, and give them a voice. That's what it's all about. So, and Kathryn, I suppose we do that in our own way, and that you do it in your own way. And it is about each of us being true to our way of supporting people to find their voice, so that they can be the truest expression of themselves.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's also, I guess, the kind of work I've been doing is helping people peel away the beliefs that they hold and the programming, parental programming, educational programming, subliminal programming coming out of these lovely screens and telephones and TVs, because it's constant. And there needs to be more awareness about that happening and everything. You know, I'm a qualified hypnotherapist, but actually everything is hypnosis, even when they do an advert for Heinz baked beans or whatever. It's all, you know, they say it often enough. And of course, the politicians just love it because they're repeating the same things over and over again. And it goes in and it sinks in. And so there needs to be an increase in awareness, but that's why we're here. That's what we're sharing. That's what we're teaching. And we're encouraging those that are listening, all you lovely people out there, to share these messages with your friends and your family, to bring their awareness, to awaken them up, because I think we have to be more discerning about to whom and to what, to where we give away our energy. We must keep our energy within us and go within to tap into the heart and the heart's brain, not this brain, the heart's brain. Now, I mean, I had a wee chat with Sara the other week there because my mind, there was a judge had come up and could have been ancestral, probably was, many past lives. I don't know how many ago, but I had a voice coming in, naysaying me and questioning me, and yeah, you know, we dealt with it, and I feel so much better. And that's where, you know, old hands like me come into their own, I have to tell you. Because we've seen it all, we've done it all. What we don't know about, heaven's sakes, we can help people address that kind of stuff, whether it's Sara, whether it's Kathryn, whether it's David, whoever it is. You know, there are answers, there are solutions out there to help you peel away those layers and reveal. I think it's wonderful. Isn't that a lovely thing to say? Reveal who you are. And we're saying it, we're all saying it in our own different ways. But, you know, it would be great to think I had gone like that overnight. But I mean, I've been at this for about 30 years. I know David has as well.
Yeah.
We're overnight successes, David.
I think I'm still getting there, but I think it is so important, Kathryn, as you say, we need to be in our hearts when we speak. And there is so much judgment in this world about somebody speaking a different narrative, whether it's in a spirituality form, whether it's in a 3D form, whatever it is. And I think people have got so scared to speak out what they feel for judgment. And I think we've come to a point now in our transitions of life where we need to speak our truth. We can't be put in that box anymore, because speaking each of our truth brings fresh air and fresh light into the world, and especially a fresh light and fresh air into yourself. You can say, at last, I've been bottling all this up, I can be out, and you almost set yourself free, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
It really is. It's like setting yourself free when you empower and become all of who you are. And then once that happens, there's no stopping you. And then it just goes, you know. And once you stop stopping yourself, the world can be so massively different and lighter instead of having everything on you, doesn't it? I think.
Totally, David. Yeah. And I mean, I'm witnessing your meteoric rise to fame with your Oramus session. But I mean, it's wonderful. It is. I think, wow, you're doing such great work with that, and yet it's out and about and it's all over, and I'm thinking,
Oh, thank you.
But it's great. It is.
But that was a prime example. I kept my mouth shut with it and didn't it, and now it's just coming because I've accepted the feedback I've got from them, and I've accepted that where I stuck in my humble box and didn't accept that part of my work as much and think, but now I've accepted it and spoken about it. It's helped that side of my work or my life to increase, which is then helping more people than I ever thought they would. So, like you said, Kathryn, by you holding yourself, I think it was you said, by holding yourself back, you're not helping others.
Right.
I know somebody said that.
So I want to say something else here. So around 2017, similar time, I knew that I had not yet experienced something that I wanted. I knew that I wanted to be successful, but success my way, whatever that meant. I felt like there was this longing inside of me to have an experience I hadn't yet had. So I use this practice. Patricia, I might have done this with you years ago. I call it the new story practice.
Yes.
And you start with what you want.
Mm-hmm.
You turn it into an affirmation. You add "and this means," and then you fill in the blank and you just write a new story. It's a kind of manifestation using words. It's a practice to open up to what you want and or manifesting depending on where you're at. So I started with "I am successful and this means," and the very first thing at the very top was "I'm being the fullest expression of myself." Like that is what I wrote. And I wasn't yet. And I could feel that in order for me to experience this feeling of success, this feeling of me showing up as fully as I could, making the difference that I'm here to make, the words that express this one piece of it was that I am being the fullest expression of myself. And then I went on, not right away, maybe a year or two later, maybe it was even 3 years later, where I wrote a new story that I started with, "I am being the fullest expression of myself, and this means." And I started to paint the picture for me. And I just want to say, I don't know how many people are watching or listening or how much y'all get replay, people watching or listening, but if anybody's watching, I mean, the four of us have truly done a lot of work on ourselves, I think. That we're at this place on our journey where we're, like David's talking about, we're just showing up and we can't put ourselves back in a box. And
No.
I invite you, if you're listening and you're feeling inspired, to write a new story. If you want to be the fullest expression of yourself, write a new story that begins with "I'm being the fullest expression of myself and this means," and begin to explore, what does that mean to you? Because it's going to look and feel a little different to you than it does to me. And as I've been talking about this and doing presentations about it, one person said that for her, it means that she brings her humorous side more to the office.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really? I couldn't have thought, I would not have ever said that. That's not me, but that's her. And I had another person who said that it's about her accessing peace more often. I don't have a thing with peace. I'm fine. I'm good with peace. So it's all a little different. What does being the fullest expression of yourself mean to you, look like, feel like? And if you want it, just like the four of us have done our work, and we're still doing our work at times when it becomes something we need to, right? Because this stuff will hit you in the face when you're asking for it. And oh my goodness. So yeah, join us on this journey of showing up in this full way.
But Kathryn, that is truly inspired, and I do hope everybody listening does that, because I think it's a wonderful thing to do, and I love humour. And just as a wee anecdote, I was in a hospital a month or so ago, and I had to get a wee procedure done. And when the consultant came out to me, I was in a wee town called Waterford in Ireland, in the hospital there. And this chap was a wonderful, handsome black guy. He was just gorgeous, right? Drop dead gorgeous, right? And so his very serious, talking about it, do this, do that. Okay, so I just sat there and I thought, I can feel this bubbling up, and this is going to happen. So I just said to him, so I said, what is your name? And he said it was Abdullah. I said, okay. I said, so not a Waterford boy then? The same guy. And he laughed. And you know, because I thought this is going to bubble up. You've got to say this. And I feel that with me all the time, that I'm going to say something that gets people laughing. And it just changed that whole thing. I was only with him 20 minutes or something. But, you know, he was a totally different person for the rest of that consultation. So I'm just sharing that as a wee anecdote.
But it just shows how, by being authentic to yourself and speaking up and being who you are, how much it can change a situation around you. You know, I suppose it's like alchemy. You're creating magic by changing everything by just these few words and not holding back, you know. And most probably he's taken that home, Patricia, and said, oh, what a day I've had. You know, and then that joy has been spread to somebody else, to his family or friends or whatever, you know. So us speaking up and being our authentic selves, and yeah, there are times when I drop back and think, oh, I think I need to keep my mouth shut, but I mustn't, you know, because you hold yourself back. And you could, like I think you said, Patricia, or Sarah said, you're stopping the change going forward, and you're stopping the improvement of people's lives going forward, you know. And if we're here to do a job and lighten everybody and get them into a better place in whichever way we work, then we're stopping doing that. And then we're going, you know, you're putting the brakes on what you're meant to be doing, whether you know what you're doing, whether you don't. And it just happens by stopping ourselves. We are stopping that work that we are here to do.
Yes, absolutely, David.
Yeah, it's so true. But it's also accepting the fact, the layers of the onion. You know, I think you sort of alluded to, Kathryn, you know, sort of these things come round. We think we've dealt with everything, and then we haven't dealt with everything. It comes back. It does. You know, there's no two ways about that, because I think for me, it's taking it back to the child within. You think, oh, right, I've dealt with that bit. But how much has that child been through in so many different ages, you know, from day to day, sometimes with some of the things that went on. And so you manage to sort of work with one aspect, and then that helps things feel a little bit better. And then once that's had a chance to settle, the next bit comes up, you know. And I love the fact that it's onion, because you talked about the lady that cried. I'm dreadful. When I get a client that cries, I'm there with a great big grin on my face because I am so pleased for them that they are having that ability to let it go, because that's what tears are about for me. And when I'm working with people, it's just like, because it is so important to have the tears, to have the release, to clean the windows of your soul, so that you can see more clearly. And so there's so much going on. And so I loved what you were saying, sort of about creating a story. And it is what they say, visualize what it is you choose for yourself. Imagine yourself there. It's happening for you. It's happened for you. It's not even happening. It's happened for you. And you sort of talked about your Perspex wall. I just get the feeling that there's almost an invisibility cloak. And how do we get that cloak off?
Yeah. That's a better, that makes more sense, because I think it's, for me, it's the invisibility wall that's like an invisibility cloak. So because it is Harry Potter, totally, but it feels like a wall to me. I'm not in a cloak. That's why I use the wall metaphor, but the whole invisibility thing. So yeah, let's get rid of the invisibility, whatever it is, and come out on the other side, release it, let ourselves be seen and heard.
But if we ever become really famous, having that cloak so that we can wander around occasionally without being recognized would be really nice.
Yeah.
Well, come to Ireland, you'll have no problem here.
I have been to Waterford. I've been to some of those areas in Southern Ireland. We're coming to the close of the program. So has anybody, we'll start with you, Kathryn. Have you got anything finally? Because I think we've gone all over the place with this, but I think so much of what we've said, if folks are able to sort of grab onto those bits that speak to them, that's the important thing. But is there anything more that you would like to share? And we will share your website as well.
Well, I keep thinking, and so since it's coming up 3 times or more, I want to speak about this incredible assessment that I created. It's called the Authentically Vibrant Assessment. You can download it on my website, which you're going to share, manifestingclientsacademy.com. But what's great about this, especially if you're a woman entrepreneur or a guy entrepreneur and you want to be the fullest expression of yourself, you can watch yourself speaking and you'll rate yourself with your non-verbal behaviors and with some overall effectiveness behaviors, and you'll give yourself a score from 0 to 100 to see where you are on this journey of breaking free from your childhood or corporate conditioning, and how much you're allowing life force to flow through you, because the closer you are to 100 versus 0, the more you're being authentically vibrant and the fullest expression of yourself. So it's a really great tool. And I wanted folks to know that it's possible to see that. And also, when you do it, you'll be able to, that Facebook, I'm sorry, I'm seeing you put my old Facebook group up there. It's no longer a good group because of my experience with Facebook. But anyhow, you'll be able to see what you could work on, what areas in what way are you not letting life force flow through you freely? So anyhow, my friends, I want to say to the 3 of you, what a delight and pleasure to hang out with y'all for this time. I mean, y'all are just totally fun and hoots. All 3 of you are.
Patricia, any final words?
Well, I just thoroughly enjoyed that. That's so my subject. I just love it, Kathryn. Love you. Loved spending time with you, and you too as well. It's always a delight to hang out here, and I look forward to the next one.
And David.
Thank you, Kathryn. It's been beautiful, and I'm sure so many of our viewers will be inspired by what you've brought forward and allowed us to share as well in your space. So thank you very much. And I'm sure you'll have a few downloads on your website for your course, for the paper, the assessment. Yeah. Sorry, I lost my words and I lost my picture. So I'm still here. But thank you, Kathryn. Thank you for a wonderful evening.
Thank you to Kathryn. It's been a real pleasure, and I really do hope that people sort of have listened, because yes, we've all been there. We've been where you are, and we've been able to sort of move forward. You can do it too. So if you wish to connect with Kathryn, I am going to make sure that if you're watching this on YouTube, I'm going to make sure that Kathryn's website address is up, Patricia's, David's, and mine, and for today's conversation, because we've now got quite a lot of these conversations. So do go and listen to them. That's just it. We do them for people to listen to. Everything's free to listen to. So we don't charge for these. If you contact us, that's potentially different, but we're not here as a sales pitch. So enjoy the conversations and connect with us. because, you know, it may be just a simple question that we just answer. And do feel free to comment under the YouTube video as well. I get notified and I will let our guests know if they wish to then come back and feedback on that. So we're happy to do that. And I know some people won't answer anything put on under their videos, but I do, and I always have done. And I think it's really important. So yes, thank you to all of you. Next week, actually, it's going to be a 7:30 a.m. for me in the UK because my guest is in Australia. So we've got a thoughtful nuggets and pearls, discover your life's purpose, which I think is going to be a little bit more than discovering life's purpose. It's just a short half-hour program. So if you can care to join us for that. And then the following week, we've got another Today's Conversation for you on the 9th of August, which will be back at our normal time of 7:30 p.m. in the UK. And we're being joined by Craig Gilbert for how mindfulness can help you in everyday life. So I hope that you'll think about joining us for other programs sort of that coming up. Check out all the past ones as well. Thank you to all of you. Thank you to the folks that watch this whenever that may be. I know it will touch your life when it is meant to. Love, peace and light to you all. Namaste.
Namaste.
Bye, folks.
Namaste.
Bye.
I've hit the end call and it's not happening. Oh, yes, it is. Take care, folks. Bye.